So last night, uh, something happened which just took the hopes and dreams of the entire left, the entire online Western left, and just threw it on the ground and shattered it into a million pieces. Of course, I'm talking about the UK elections and the complete just fucking failure of Jeremy Corbyn, and his just how the Conservatives just fucking crushed the Labour Party. I mean, like the lead was something like what? It was the Conservatives, they had over an 11-point lead over the Labour Party, which is just fucking terrible. And obviously a lot of Western, we will call them leftoids, who put their hopes in Jeremy Corbyn to, I mean, if they weren't, there were some that were entirely infantile and thought, Jeremy Corbyn was going to smash the bourgeoisie overnight and declare a socialist republic. I mean, that's obviously a very small minority. I realize the majority of those supporting Jeremy Corbyn supported him to, we need to protect our the NHS and the social services and show that, to set an example for the world that, left-wing politics is a feasible, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually had hopes in Jeremy Corbyn, that's just, you had your hopes in the exact wrong place, and you were far too hopeful to begin with. I just don't know what to tell you. You just fucked up big time here. You're just setting yourself up for disappointment. In my view, I think this objectively should actually be seen as a win for the authentic left, which I know sounds fucking insane. But what this does, what the fucking absolute failure of Jeremy Corbyn does, is it reveals the impotency of parliamentary electoral politics, which is something that, Soc Dems like to call us tankies, even though we're all not tankies, but the revolutionary radical left, who don't just, for the meantime, we're going to support social democracy and support Jeremy Corbyn. This is something we've been talking about for a while. The reality is that things need to get worse for them to get better. So this, if you're an actual radical, you're a socialist, a communist, or what have you, this should be seen as a good, you should be celebrating this. Okay, social democrats are, ostensible foes just as much as the bourgeoisie and their other fucking puppets. This is a sign that we need to develop new revolutionary tactics, and that we actually need to actually create a revolutionary left-wing movement, and not just let's just support this guy is pretty based. He's a cool he's a social democrat, but he says some he's moving the what was it, the overturned window to the left, guys. That's fucking stupid. You're a child. And this goes on to the point that democracy itself is just fucking stupid. And I don't mean in a Sorelian way, the real problem with the bourgeoisie is democratic ideology. No, that's just reactionary nonsense. What I'm saying is that Marxism has nothing to do with democracy. All right, the goal is the class dictatorship of the proletariat. What the that has nothing to do with democracy. Democracy is useful, practiced internally, within the dictatorship of the proletariat, but it's an exclusive democracy. It's not it's a lot of people confuse dictatorship of the proletariat with the power to the people, rule the people. The people are a fucking abstraction, okay? The people do not exist. There is no unitary people. It's a cool slogan to put on a banner, but the problem with the sort of popular democratic line of the new left is the people are your revolutionary mass. That's your force of revolution. The people do not exist. No wonder you can't make gains. Your force for political change is a fucking abstraction. I mean, that's just the folly of democracy and popular democracy within the left. you can't build political power off an abstraction, okay? The proletariat is your means to seize political power and to build socialism, not popular democracy. I mean, you know, within the dictatorship of the proletariat, right? You can appease other classes. You can go to the you know, certain like petit bourgeois like bookstore owner and be like, oh hey, you know, we'll let you operate your little bookshop in the meantime as we sort of begin like socializing things. But you can't hire anyone else, and you're barred from the political system. You can do shit like that, but like you can't incorporate the entire people within the dictatorship of the proletariat. It just would not make it the dictatorship of the proletariat. The opposite of bourgeois rule is not popular democracy. That's just a middle ground between, you know, dictatorship of the bourgeoisie and dictatorship of the proletariat. Right? If we're gonna like rank political systems, you know, we can say like on one hand there's proletarian rule. That's dictatorship of the proletariat. That's the most extreme form of proletarian rule. On the one hand, of the extreme end of bourgeois rule, we have the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie. That would be like what you would see in early liberal democracies, where, you know, property ownership was a prerequisite to voting. You had to own property to vote. That's what we would say is like the fullest extent of bourgeois dictatorship. Then you just sort of have, you know, universal suffrage, which we can call like bourgeois hegemony, current liberal democracy. All right, popular democracy is an in-between. It's a middle ground. You know, it's a middle ground between bourgeois rule and proletarian rule. That's something you have to take into account. So just yesterday, I was out with my girlfriend, and we went to a little socialist bookstore. It was called Bread and Roses Bookstore. So kind of a clear nod at, like, you know, sort of socialist, social democratic ideology. So it was a left-wing bookstore, and we went in, and she bought me a book called The German Revolution and the Debate on Soviet Power, which is a really cool book. It's very rare. It's actually from the communists, the Comintern themselves. And I was reading through it, and this is just as the election was going on, and I noticed some passages, particularly some of the writings and letters of the Social Democratic Party, that really puts things into perspective here regarding the issue of democracy. And I'll read this one. It's the Social Democratic Party replied to the Independent Social Democratic Party on conditions for coalition government. So this is responding to the Independent Social Democratic Party's conditions for entering into a coalition with the official Social Democratic Party. And I'll read it as follows. So, to the Executive Committee of the Independent Social Democratic Party, guided by a genuine desire to arrive at an agreement, we wish to explain our basic position on your conditions. You demand, 1. Germany should be a socialist republic. This demand is the goal of our own policy. However, the people must decide on this through the Constituent Assembly. All executive, legislative, and judicial power in this republic should rest exclusively in the hands of elected representatives of the entire toiling population and the soldiers. If by this demand you mean the dictatorship of one class, which does not have the support of the majority of the people, then we must reject this condition, because it contradicts our democratic principles. Exclude all bourgeois members from the government. We must reject this condition, because fulfilling it would seriously jeopardize our capacity to feed the people. If not, make that task impossible. So you can see here just the folly of democratic and populist principles. It's just fucking stupid. Here's another one. This is sort of as the counter-revolution is gaining force. This was like regarding a leaflet the Social Democratic Party was sending out. At this time, Germany, there was a lot of strikes. There was a lot of turmoil obviously going on at this point. And so the Social Democratic Party, in order to mediate this, they sent out leaflets to the various worker and soldier councils, which read as follows. German worker, have you considered, today you are a free man, the freest of the workers in the whole world, and at this precise moment you stop working. Are you so dim-witted? Stop and think. The state, your family, and yourself must live. Therefore, you must work and work hard. And yet, you put your hands in your lap. Shame on you, German worker. You do not deserve your freedom. You preferred carrying out shameful deeds under the whip of militarism to laboring today of your own free will. German worker, get to work. So that's the Social Democratic Party, and this Social Democratic Party, mind you, was actually objectively probably further to the left than Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. Okay, I hope that the failure of Jeremy Corbyn helps the left realize that democracy, the people, popular democracy, this is all irrelevant to Marxism and socialism. The goal of socialism is not power to the people. It is transferring political power from the bourgeoisie to the proletariat and establishing the class dictatorship of the proletariat to build socialism. That is the goal of socialism. And one thing I want to talk about is, this is in regards to the online left, but you certainly see this in the real life left, is like this weird new age Marxist or new age socialism, which in a very literal sense actually does incorporate new age religious elements. I mean, many of them practice like Wicca and weird astrology and shit like that. Things that no Marxist should be following. And they say shit like, I'm talking about like people like Mexi and Angie Speaks, but this is becoming a very prominent tendency within the left. They'll talk about shit like how we need to honor divine femininity and indigenous spirituality and connections with the land and nature, and how we need to embrace pacifism and vote for Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn. But oh yeah, guys, I'm a Marxist. Okay, like these people are liberals. This is just liberalism. This is basically what this is just liberals using Marxism and socialism as a way to sort of exercise their masochistic slave morality. And so it's no doubt that among these people, they're the most fervent supporters of Jeremy Corbyn, and also they also are the ones that push like we the people. This and we'll talk about like how true democracy and shit. So what I'm saying is like if you want to get rid of these like inherently anti-Marxist elements, these liberal elements, as soon as the left drops democratic and populist principles, these people will just flee back to liberalism, and they will be in their correct position as ostensible foes and no longer masquerading among us. So yeah, I hope the failure of Jeremy Corbyn is a learning experience. Again, if you're feeling disillusioned, you shouldn't. This is Jeremy Corbyn was not in any, no hope for the left should have been in Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn was the hope of liberals and of social democrats, modern social democrats. That's all.